Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unify. I am Debbie G. It's nice to be here with you today, and I have a beautiful guest. His name is William Swing. We are going to discuss nuclear prayer and why it is important. Any prayer centering on nuclear weapons drives us to the beginning and the end of life on this planet, to recognize the fleeting and fragile nature of life, and to our own obligations to secure a future habitat for our own and other species. A nuclear prayer from the depths of our soul is a bold action of hope as well as a prelude to earth-saving labors. William, welcome, and I cannot wait to hear about this initiative and from your perspective, why it's important.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. I started working on nuclear issues about 1983.
Wow.
And started working on the freeze movement, and then got involved with Secretary of State George Shultz and Secretary of Defense Bill Perry, and a great physicist by the name of Sidney Drell, and others and others and others. And I just keep getting deeper and deeper into it. What I find is that when I'm on occasion in the company of scholars, writers, diplomats, et cetera, all working on the nuclear issue, they'll turn to me as a clergy person. I was the Bishop of California for the Episcopal Church.
Oh, wow.
For 27 years. And they'll look at me and they'll say, what do you think? They're looking for a perspective. You can talk about this treaty, and you can talk about military-industrial complex. You can talk about this politician or that button or who's got it. But at the end of the day, it comes down to it's bigger than us.
Yeah.
It's bigger than any politician. The dimensions are staggering. And because it does drive you to the beginning of time and the end of time for us on this planet.
Certainly.
We're not the whole game. This James Webb telescope shows us that there are galaxies and the universe is expanding, and we're on this little planet with just enough oxygen and the right kind of temperature for a little while to make it possible for us to have a human existence. And here we are with weapons that could blow up the human existence. What is that about? There are all kinds of ways of looking at nuclear weapons. You start out with this weapon, you get a bigger one, and you get a bigger one, and a bigger one, and finally we're up to hydrogen, atomic, nuclear, and then we got one nation with a weapon, and then we got two nations with a weapon. Now we got 9, and now we are proliferating. We're modernizing, which means bigger bombs, more devastation, and it's all predicated on the perfectibility of human beings. We'll say, oh, well, we can handle it perfectly. Just trust us. We can handle all these weapons and all these countries, and no leader will ever be unhinged. Nobody will ever do anything wrong. We'll be able to have all these weapons and keep a balance and go forever. We've had a world without nuclear weapons for about 3 or 4 billion years. We've had a world with nuclear weapons for about 77 years. I'd rather bet on the world that goes for a couple of billion years without them than 77 with them.
I'm with you, Bill.
I know where this is going.
Yeah. Seriously, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know how the game's going to end up. Maybe not in Ukraine, although the nice thing about Ukraine is that it woke everybody up.
Wow. Yeah.
We've all been asleep saying, oh, well, somebody someplace is taking care of it. No bombs are falling. There's no need. But in the back of our mind is a nightmare. And when Putin in Ukraine says, well, we might just use small nuclear weapons, boy, the nightmare opens up, because a small nuclear weapon invites another one on top of that one, and a one on top of that. And once it gets going, where do you stop a nuclear war? And you don't stop a nuclear war. You just blow up the human race, and you blow up the planet Earth, and we end up being a little dinky thing in the solar system out there, one little dead planet in a galaxy.
I want to know, how do we tell people how to pray for this?
Yes.
To disarm it. How do we do that? I mean,
yeah. And, we use the word prayer. It means, it could mean anything.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It could be a scream. It could be a meditation. It could be a silence. It could be, once you understand the profundity of the damage that is meant to happen and is aimed at us today, once that takes root in your heart, something, if you're a feeling, caring person, something explodes. We call it a prayer, but it could be a gasp. It could be a scream. It could be a mother saying, I don't want my child to be hit in the street. I'm pulling that child off out of the traffic. So if you don't get in touch with your most primal response to nuclear weapons, then you just sit around and debate about this and you debate about that. But once you pray, once you go deep inside yourself and you get in touch with yourself as a creature and the created order and the creator and what's it all about, then you're ready to do battle and business about nuclear weapons. Otherwise, you just sort of hide around and hope that it goes away. But a prayer brings you, it centers you, and it gets you ready for the action that needs to happen if we're going to save this planet.
I really love how you explain that, how prayer can be anything, but getting in touch with your that innate primal response to nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. So my question to the audience is, have you thought about getting in touch with your primal response to such a, if this happened, it would be devastating for this world. Obviously, it would be done. I mean, it's a huge thing. I didn't know there were so many, to be honest with you. I didn't know that there were so many at this point. Is it possible to disarm them? Is it possible to just eliminate this?
Yeah, back in the 1980s, when proliferation was unchecked, we went to 50,000 warheads, to 60,000 warheads, to 70,000 warheads. They were banging around in the skies and in the ground and in submarines, and something bad was going to happen. So Gorbachev and Reagan met in Reykjavik, Iceland, and they said, this is crazy. The world is going to get devastated here. We got to stop it. So they said, okay, let's take it from 70,000 warheads down to 60, down to 50, down to 40. And finally, one of them said to the other, why don't we get rid of all of them? Why don't we get rid of all of them? Between the two of us, we got them all. Let's just end it now. And then there was that one fragile, amazing moment of possibility, and it disappeared because of one thing or another. But it didn't stop the momentum. We did go from 70, 60 to 50 to 40 to 30 to 20. And now we're down to 13 to 14,000 warheads, and we can go lower. It's not a matter of magic wand and get rid of everything. It's a matter of negotiating, get down, get safeguards, get buy-in, get community. There's got to be some trust level. There's got to be a verification level. We got to get the people who have the weapons together. The people who have the weapons don't talk to each other. They hate each other. India hates Pakistan and vice versa. Russia and America have had at it forever. Um, we've got to have the people who have the weapons. There are only 9 countries. If we can get 9 countries to have building a relationship of trust, so that we could have it, it's not going to be magic. It's going to be hard work of negotiating yourself all the way down. But we can get there. We've done that. And in the meantime, the wonderful thing is that no nuclear weapon has gone off in war since 1945. That is really good news. The bad news is we were really lucky. There were occasions where it could have happened. If you're a Secretary of State in America or Russia, you know the occasions where it almost happened, and it was saved by some heroic person or some accident or something happened to keep. But that won't go forever. We can't depend on luck and accident when you're dealing with nuclear weapons. We got to deal in hard negotiations and get it from 13 to 12 to 10 and on down.
Beautiful. So it's been proven already that this is possible. So this is why the prayer is so important. And from what I'm hearing, it's that prayer for the trust and for the unification of the leaders that are behind this to get together and to come to a decision to disarm. I really love that. Now, so what do you feel? I feel it's just the energy. I think when 2 or 3 are gathered, and we have a lot more than that will be gathered for this prayer, we have millions, that changes happen. It's not luck, it's the energy and it's the trust in humanity that we have and we pull together as community. So do you think that had something to do with the reason that it was coming down before? And do you think that this is definitely what is going to be of service this time?
Yeah, I think there's a combination between common sense and prayer. I think when Reagan and Gorbachev got together, they recognized in each other that they both had looked in the mirror and seen the horror, or they looked at the picture. They both saw the same picture and they both felt the same horror, and they both said, common sense tells you we can't do it. We got to stop this. And therefore, if the bomb has gone off in your heart and you recognize it in another person, that the bomb is going off in their heart, the peace bomb or the fear bomb or whatever, if you know that your heart's been touched down at the prayer level, then you can have community. I think Reagan and Gorbachev were common sense human beings who both understood the fragility of human beings with these enormous bombs in their hands. It's not going to work. And so if you can see in your enemy, if you can see the same dread that you have in yourself, then you might be able to go someplace.
I love that. And I love the explosion in your heart, because that's really what it is. It's just explosion. And that's what's coming into my heart right now is this idea of joining together in unison with others in order to see this happen. But common sense, I mean, it does boil down to that. And I love how you brought that forward. And we've seen a decrease. So I know that it's possible. I feel it's possible. I also believe that peace is possible, as we know, and we're fighting. We're not fighting. We're in unison for peace by 2030. And I believe it's possible. And this is just one more part of it. The dismantling of the things that are no longer serving this world, period. And though I may not see this happen in my lifetime, it is for all generations, for us here now, but also think of the ones that are coming. And that's really the most important part. So I would love to know what else that you could offer to somebody who is wondering what they can do.
Yeah. One thing I want to say for sure, Debbie, is that there's no one prayer. Uh, our little group has a nuclear prayer that we say every week, every month we meet, but that's just one little group. There's no book of common prayer where everybody has to say the same prayer. The prayer might be a song. It might be different words, different languages, different phraseology, different everything. So we say nuclear prayer, but nuclear prayers is plural, actually. And I've forgotten your question.
It's all right. I actually have another one. I want to, and we'll end with it possibly. I'd love to know the prayer that your group says. What else can somebody do? What else can we do in our community? If you're sitting there and you're watching this, I'm really passionate about this. For one thing, you can make sure to tune in to Unify and watch Nuclear Prayer Day. It's going to be on August 5th and August 6th, and we're going to be live from Hiroshima as well, which is going to be phenomenal. So for those that are sitting watching, what else can they do to initiate some sort of action within their community?
Yeah. The first thing to do is to look into groups that have been about this work for years and years and years, who have education, who have action possibilities. They're out there. Plowshares, ICANN, Voices for a World Free of Nuclear Weapons, Abolition 2000, and it goes on and on and on and on. Just find out who are the pros, who are the veterans, who are out there, and what kind of actions. I mean, for instance, we're working hard in a lot of ways to get no first use, so that the United States and Russia and China would sign an agreement saying, we will not use those weapons on you first of all. I mean, because if you have nuclear weapons, you might, if you bomb everybody and kill them all, then there's nothing left but you. So people want to, countries want to keep the possibility of first use to themselves. But if we could just say no first use, that these are not offensive bombs, these are defensive bombs. We're not building them in order to wipe you out before you even have a chance to speak. We want to make sure that nobody uses them first on anybody else. So that's one piece of it. We could take us off the trigger, make the time longer so that some president someplace doesn't just punch a button when he or she is unhinged because you're mad at the world or depressed or whatever. Make sure that there are more safeguards, better safeguards on the weapons, and on and on and on. There are a lot of things you can do, and also you can join people. And what we find in Voices is that we meet once a month, and it's so good to have some people working on local issues in East Tennessee and in the state of Washington. It's good to get caught up on what's happening, but also have other people saying at an international level, this has happened with the Trident missile in Britain, and this is what Kirill is doing in Russia with blessing the nuclear weapons for Putin and all that kind of stuff. Just get in the game. There's a lot happening, and jump in.
I love it. Just jump in. Just jump in and check out the different organizations, and the links are in the description above for all of the organizations, as well as the links for the special event that we're having on August 5th and 6th right here on Unify and around the world. Thank you so much. Now, what is this prayer? I got to hear it. This sounds wonderful.
Well, if I had known you were going to ask me, I'd have it in front of me. But right in the middle of the prayer is a lovely sentence which says, "Oh Lord, lift the fog of atomic darkness that hovers so pervasively over our earth, your earth." there's a moment in that prayer where it stops being about us. This is not our earth. We didn't invent this thing. We didn't create this thing.
No.
Lift the fog of atomic darkness that hovers so pervasively over our earth, your earth. So that's right in the heart of the prayer. And if we on August the 6th, we're going to have a short Facebook event, and we're going to talk about our nuclear prayer, and we're going to show George Shultz, Secretary of State, saying that prayer, and Bill Perry, Secretary of Defense, saying that prayer. If you want to see guys who really who were deep into the nuclear bomb issue, praying, it's there. By the way, James Mattis was General Mattis was the Secretary of Defense, and he was in the White House with the president and the national security team. And they were talking about the nuclear weapons all over the world and who's going to do what, and et cetera, et cetera. When the meeting was over, General Mattis got in the car, drove to the National Cathedral, went down to the Bethlehem Chapel, and prayed. He prayed. Once you're on the inside and you see, oh my gosh, what have human beings created? What could happen? Then all of a sudden, prayer is not some faint little dainty thing. It gets you on your knees back to the basics of where we are in this hour.
Oh, that's beautiful. I am honored to have you on right now, and I'm just so grateful for all the work that you've done. And I thank you personally for sharing this message, but also for teaching me and for teaching others out there something maybe that we weren't aware of. Once you know, you can't unknow it. You are now aware. You have no reason. So I want to thank you, Bill. Do you have any last words for everyone that's listening?
Yeah, we have a website for Voices for a World Free of Nuclear Weapons. It's something like Voices, URI, Voices, something. But it'll be in that information. But we have a lot of educational things, movies, educational events for little children, little videos for them, all kinds of stuff. So check us out. We're not the whole, we're not everything, but we're something. If you're starting someplace, you might start with us.
Well, I think that's a fabulous idea. Remember, check the chat above and the description, because the links are there. And I invite everybody to please attend on August 5th and August 6th. Come and see what you find. There's going to be something in there, just in the unison of joining in this energy, that's going to spark something within you. So join us, please, for Nuclear Prayer Day. We love you here at Unify, and we thank you for being such a dedicated audience. Bill, you are a rock star, and I thank you. You are just so awesome. I mean, just all of the things that you bring forward. Seriously, I am just enamored by you. I love this.
Oh, good. Well, I'm Debbie G. Debbie Grateful. I've never met a Debbie Grateful, but I'm grateful that I did. Thank you.
And I'm grateful for you too. And everybody, we thank you from Unify, and we thank you, and we will see you on August 5th and 6th.